Hey everyone. Yeah, I thought I'd kind of do this little video here because I've been thinking about doing something like this. I just had to kind of figure out certain air dates of when certain episodes came out 20 years ago. And ironically, I was looking on Wikipedia, and I don't know if this is correct or not, but I believe it is. Today, October 29th, marks 20 years ago that the prologue episode to the Doomsday Project saga. That's right, the final four episodes of Sonic SatAM, the Doomsday Project saga, the prologue episode, The Void, aired on ABC. And it's ironic as well that this month also marks the 20-year anniversary of probably one of the two best, probably one of the best miniseries animation wise Saturday morning or even weekend or weekday syndicated wise I'd ever seen in Blast to the Past. Now, Blast to the Past aired on October 1st, 1994. And October 1st of this year marks its 20-year anniversary. October 8th is when Blast to the Past Part 2 aired, and it marks 20 years ago as well. And today, the 29th of October, marks the um, anniversary of the Void episode. And I can tell you this honestly. Being 15 years old at this time, and this also being the last year, and I will admit this, being the last year I went trick or treating. That's right, at 15 years old, I went trick or treating the last time, 20 years ago. The 2 days before this, the Void episode aired. And I can tell you this, it was probably one of the best episodes I'd ever seen in any animated show. Period. Probably one of the best episodes I'd ever seen. And to say that it's one of those standout episodes for SatAM, if not in any Saturday morning cartoon, we'd be saying anything else but positive. I mean, when I look at The Void, I look at an episode that was not just a prologue to the Doomsday Project saga, which consisted of Cry of the Wolf, Druid Spyhawk, and Doomsday Project itself. But I look at an episode that allowed a lot of things to come full circle. It really did. You know, in season one, we had an episode where Sally, along with Antoine, went to go search for her father. So we pretty much had an indication that one of Sally's goals throughout the series was to get her father back. Because pretty much in that season one episode, and then as we find out in season two, if there's one thing that Sally believes besides Sonic that could help defeat Robotnik and regain freedom to Mobius, it's her father. It's getting her father, the king, you know, out from wherever he is, finding him, bringing him back, so thus they'll have more strength and power on their side to the point that Robotnik would have no choice but to give up or leave Robotropolis and return it to its rightful owners. And hold on. And for me, when I watch The Void, it just shows that everything's come full circle. Because, like I said, you go back to that episode in season one, and then you take a look at season two. Now, I mentioned Blast to the Past, which also celebrated its 20th anniversary episode-wise on the 1st of this month and the 8th of this month, and you take a look at Blast of the Past and you say to yourself, that should have been, in a sense, the first two episodes of season two, because it's more like, almost like an origin story in a sense that's more suited as a season premiere. But then you kind of get the idea of why they placed it where they did and placed Game Guy where they did. Game Guy essentially gave us the idea that, we were going to see Sally's father, and that because of Sally's father, we were going to see more freedom fighter characters. We were going to get introduced to newer characters, and that's what this season was going to be about. And it was exactly that, because we find out about the list in Game Guy. So that kind of gives you the idea, like I said, that we're going to meet up with other characters later on in the season, but it also lets you know, in a sense, that we're going to finally come face to face with Sally's father. And we do. We do find that out about 3 episodes later, about 2 episodes later, in Blast of the Past. In Blast of the Past Part 1, we finally see the father. And, this is what makes, season 2 such a great season, because, yeah, it did have its continuity more intact than season 1 did. Season 1 was initially an introductory season, even though there was continuity connection with season 2 and season 1 when it came to certain aspects. But like I said, getting back to The Void, everything just came full circle here, because we find out about the list in Game Guy, which was the first episode, the season premiere episode of season 2, which, again, like I said, gave you the initial idea, that knowing that we were going to meet up with new characters, new freedom fighter characters, and also kind of gave you this initial feeling that we were going to finally see Sally's father, and we did. So it gave you that initial feeling, but it also gave you the initial feeling that Sally was going to get that list. You get it. You mention, you have Ari, who was a new character, mention the list before he sacrifices himself to the Void, or at least is plummeted into the Void. So she's going to get that list, but in a sense, you also know that her father's being mentioned almost right off the bat in the first episode. So you kind of get the idea, like I said, you're going to meet her father somehow finally, and you do. And not only do you meet him for the first time in the past, in Blast of the Past Part 1, but you meet him here, and again, this is where it comes full circle, because if there's a list of freedom fighter groups out there, and it's her father's list, that her father has it. So again, like I said, I know it sounds like a broken record. You knew you were bound to meet him one way or another finally, and you not only got to see him once, but you got to see him twice. And like I said, once was in the Blast of the Past miniseries, second time was in The Void. And that's how everything came full circle, with her finally obtaining by her father, giving it to her, the list of freedom fighter groups out there to help defeat Robotnik. And I liked that. I really did. I really liked that. I really did. And I've said this before in my review of The Void, and I'll say it again. The Void is one of those episodes that when you watch the ending of it, and even after she's found her father and she's finally gotten him out of the Void, basically where he's been for the past 10, 11 years, she ends up losing him again because he starts turning to crystal. And he can't remain in that world, because if he does, he's going to turn to crystal and die. And he can only survive in the Void. So you kind of feel for Sally. You kind of feel sorry for her a little bit when she has to hug her father and literally shed tears as he leaves, as he goes back into the Void. And you hear his voice, towards the end of that, after he and Nagas go back into the Void and it seals back up, you hear his voice overhead, kind of like you overhear his voice. You hear a voice, his voiceover saying goodbye, Sally. It's almost like saying goodbye to her on a permanent basis, and so you feel sorry for her. You kind of feel for her. You feel that emotion, and that's what was good about this episode. That's what was really good about this episode, and I can't say any more about it. I really can't say any more about it. And again, what makes this a great prelude to Doomsday is you find out about Doomsday. You find out when when Sonic, Sally, and Bunny get a message from Uncle Chuck, and Bunny reads off the message saying that Robotnik's planning something big, and then you find out what that something big is, and that is the Doomsday Project. And I thought that was a great setup. And again, a lot of stuff came full circle with this, because not only do you find out about the Doomsday Project, but you find out how much of a role the list of freedom fighters, how important that list of freedom fighters is going to, turn out to be in the Doomsday Saga, right off the bat, if you will. So, to me, The Void was really 20 years ago. The Void to me was one of those episodes that you can just go back and rewatch over and over again and never get sick and tired of it. In fact, for me, in a sense, it was also very ironic that it was the last Sat AM episode that I recorded on a VHS tape before my VCR died. Yeah. Basically, I had dedicated season 2. I had dedicated a whole VHS tape to recording all of season 2. And right after The Void, my VCR just conked out. The recording mode just died. I don't know what happened. It's like I tried to record the following week, which I think was Fed Up with I think was the Odd Couple and Rebecca episode, and the thing just died. Yeah, the thing just died. I tried to look back and see if I recorded. No, nothing recorded that following week, and it just died. And so that's why I've always liked The Void episode, because it was the last one I recorded on that tape. I mean, basically the episodes that I had on this tape were like this: Sonic Conversion, No Brainer, Blast of the Past 1, Blast of the Past 2, Fed Up with Antoine Ghostbusted, and The Void. I had 6 out of the 7 episodes on VHS. So, yeah, that's why The Void is. I always look at The Void as a favorite of mine, because it's just one of those episodes, like I said, that you cannot get enough of, that you can just rewatch over and over again. Even if you're watching Sonic Sat AM for the first time, this episode will grab your attention. You know it's leading into something, and it's going to make you want to watch the rest of the series to see what it's leading into. That's how good it was. And looking back at the fact that now it's been 20 years ago since this episode aired, I think I might just go back and watch it later on today. I might take my DVD, not on Netflix, but I might take my DVDs that I have from my box set, not the one that's in here, not the box set that's still unopened, been unopened for the past, has not been opened for the past 7.5 years, but the one that is, I might just take out season 2 of disc 1 of season 2 and watch the Void episode. Or is it disc 2 of season 1? I mean, or is it disc 2 of season 2? I can't remember. But I'm going to take season 2 out, one of the discs, and watch the Void episode. I just might do that. It just might. So I advise anybody else to do it. And while you're at it, watch Blast of the Past, because it's 20 years now since that episode came out, since that miniseries came out, and I think it's one of the best ones they've done, by far. So let me know what you guys think about The Void 20 years later, which is the prologue episode to Doomsday. Let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. I'll talk to you all later. God bless. Take care.